Go ahead.
One thing that people have to remember, when we have contact and it's a team approach, we somehow have to get to the child as well. The activity that they do here, if they do it out on the street, you know what I mean? They have to remember that what happens on the street may be different than happens in the school. You might not get by with what happens in the school and this team approach out on the street because you don't have that you don't have that relationship and that team atmosphere. There's less that we can probably let happen out there because of what everybody else is seeing as well, and an expectation of behavior. So we got to be very cognitive when we sit at that team that we get that to that child, that behavior that that happens out in the community maybe handled just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
That support structure is not there, and we owe it to the child to talk about community expectation as well. We need to have them in school to learn, and that's where restorative justice is the best. We need to do things to make sure that they know what they did was wrong, but we can't take them out of an environment where they're going to try to make themselves better and learn.
Right.
But
and so the expectations on the street is a lot different in terms of how officers will even relate to them on the street than it is in the school.
That's why you get officers kicked. You got officers sometime when you have patrol officers come in and work the schools and they're not there and they're not embedded and they're not part of the team. That's where they have difficulty, because what they see out on the street, all of a sudden they see in the school, they want to put their grabs on and they want to make the arrest. When you're not part of that team, but when you're part of that team, you're talking about that service bit, and you're talking about how we can make that child better day in and day out. So I definitely see there's a difference between what happens in the school that happens on the street. You don't have that team, you don't have that support. You just take action and you clear the call and you're done. In the school, it's a little different.
Yeah, so that does answer some of the questions as to why do some of those things happen with either certain kinds of officers or when officers are called and they don't have that relationship. It really is the difference between those mindsets. One is a relationship building mindset, and the other one is an enforcement law mindset.
Exactly. And role and responsibility that's been passed on to the officer as well.
Right. Okay. So one thing I was sharing with some community members, and they were like, when the police show up, they're always, yelling, or they're telling people what to do and blah, blah, blah. And I had to help them remember that the reason they called the police was because the situation was out of their control in the first place.
Yep.
Right. And so somebody's coming in to take control. And so,
here's one nice thing I'll ask. There's a lot of money around the country, not just Minnesota, going to school safety. And there's been a lot of talk about putting, officers into the schools. In order to be effective, you have to embed them. You got to embed the officers. It's just not hiring officers on overtime, part-time to come and be the bouncer. No, you got to embed them. You got to develop the relationship. You got to develop the team. You got to develop the team, in order to be the most effective in the schools with the law enforcement. You have to embed. So it.
Great. No, I appreciate that. I think